Sektori might be the best twin-stick shooter of 2025 and absolutely does not care if you can finish its campaign. This is one of those games that looks like a Resogun cousin, sounds like a Tetris Effect cousin, and plays like that one arcade cab that quietly ate your entire allowance. Quick context before we start worshipping at the neon altar. Sektori is a PS5 twin-stick shooter made by Kimmo Lottinen, a former Housemarque dev who worked on Superstar Stardust, Dead Nation, Resogun, basically the modern arcade canon. He went solo, and this is very clearly his fine if arcade is dead, I'll do it myself project. Multiple reviewers say the same thing in different words. This feels like a pure arcade game. No meta progression fluff, no battle pass, just you, a ship, and the constant feeling that you might be too old for this. The basics are simple enough. Left stick moves your little polygon ship, right stick aims and shoots. Shoulder button does a strike dash that slices through enemies and detonates a little explosion. And you want to chain that because striking through certain paths instantly refreshes it. Enemies are abstract shapes with very specific attack patterns, telegraphed by wireframe shadows before they drop in. At first, you're just cleaning up simple fodder. A few minutes later, it's a storm of triangles, snakes of shielded segments, bullet-spewing weirdos, and you're threading gaps like you're defusing a bomb with a dual sense. What makes Sektori pop, or depending on you, break you, is the way it layers progression and chaos together. Every kill drops little shards of glimmer. Pick up enough and you spawn an upgrade token. Hit X on that token and you climb a little skill ladder. Speed at the bottom, then things like dash, shields, missiles, blasters further up. The catch is that the higher you want to go, the more tokens you have to collect in a row without taking damage. One token gets you a speed upgrade. Want a better strike? You need to survive long enough to get 2 more tokens, then cash out. Want your blaster maxed? That might be 5 or 6 tokens, all while the screen starts to look like a laser show having a panic attack. Some reviewers describe this as surprisingly intuitive once it clicks. You're essentially choosing a build on the fly. Need survivability. Cash out early for shields. Want big damage and you're feeling cracked? Gamble on climbing to the top and upgrading your guns. The twist is that if you take a hit, you drop back to the bottom rung and have to rebuild that ladder. It's a classic risk-reward arc that fits this genre perfectly. On top of that, you've got upgrade decks. Before a run, you pick a set of cards you want in the pool, things like shield foot focused perks or my personal favorite from the reviews, the drone deck that spawns little buddies to cover angles you aren't. During play, yellow selector tokens let you pick one of 3 random upgrades from those decks. Magnets, zapping shields, drones, point multipliers, silly joke perks that give you literally 1 point. But you can only bring a limited number of decks. So you're defining your flavor of chaos before you even press start. Now layer the arena on top of all that. Sektori doesn't just give you a flat square and call it a day. The battlefield constantly morphs. Hexagons stretch into weird stars, sections grow and then slice away, platforms appear and vanish. Parts of the floor flash dark red to warn they're about to drop off. If you're still standing there when it goes, that's instant game over no matter how many shields you've hoarded. Some reviewers love this. It forces you to actually look at the arena instead of zoning out. Others call out legibility issues when everything is glowing and pulsing. And especially when you're in Mirage mode, that rainbow-drenched temporary power state you trigger by spelling Mirage with collected letters. Between the trippy visuals and the floor disappearing, you will absolutely die sometimes just because your eyes couldn't parse everything in time. Let's talk difficulty because every review hits this from a slightly different angle. Officially, the lowest difficulty is literally called Experience, and the description says it's for people who just want to enjoy the ride and learn the ropes. At least one critic who's been playing it for over a month openly admits they still haven't beaten the 5-stage campaign and can only reliably reach the 3rd boss. Another reviewer also calls it surprisingly challenging even on experience and warns that casual players might bounce hard. The more hardcore arcade folks frame it as finely tuned, brutal but fair, and compare it favorably to Nex Machina. You're going to get smoked, but every death feels like a lesson, not an ambush. So where's the disagreement? It's not really about whether Sektori is good. Everyone basically calls it excellent. It's about who it's for. If you come in expecting Hades-style persistent upgrades or roguelike crutches, you're in the wrong bar. There's no permanent power climb. Between runs, you only tweak your ship's look and which decks can drop. Your actual power comes from getting better and making smarter choices mid-run. That's a feature, not a bug if you're the type to chase high scores on global leaderboards. It's a bug if you were hoping to grind your way past your own skill ceiling. Presentation is where the game goes absolutely feral. Every review spends time on the soundtrack and visuals. This is full-on thumping techno late-night club energy with bass that belongs in actual headphones or a soundbar, not a sad TV speaker. Menus ramp the music up if you hesitate, pushing you back into the action. Particle explosions, neon outlines, camera sweeps. It's all tuned to push you into that flow state where the outside world disappears and you're just dodging shapes like your life depends on it. People compare it to Tetris Effect or Thumper in how it traps your senses, but filtered through a more aggressive, you might forget to blink shooter lens. Not everything is perfect, even in glowing reviews. Base movement can feel a little floaty until you start upgrading speed, especially if you're used to Housemarque's ultra-crisp Super Stardust. Manually pressing X to cash in upgrades in the middle of chaos can interrupt the flow just enough to feel awkward. One reviewer really wished those just auto-applied when you grabbed them. Visual noise can hide those floor flash warnings and get you killed in ways that feel cheap until you learn to read the chaos. And again, if you're not already into this genre, the difficulty curve might just feel like a wall. There's also a ton of extra modes once you've been humbled by the campaign. Classic mode for static arenas, boss rush. Surge where your ship flickers between weak and absurdly strong. Crash where only dashes can kill. Assault where you choose when to ramp the difficulty. Gates where you can only damage enemies by passing through rotating lasers. These aren't just padding. They act like training gyms for specific skills and give score chasers more ways to flex on the leaderboards. Veteran Games take. Sektori is a love letter to arcade shooters from someone who actually knows how to write one. It's lean, loud, mean, and absolutely uninterested in meeting you halfway. If you want story, progression, or chill, this is not your game. If you want that just one more run feeling at 1 AM with your eyes dry and your heart racing, this might be your new obsession or your new nemesis. If this kind of no BS deep dive into the weird, sweaty corners of modern arcade games is your thing, hitch a ride with Veteran Game and hit subscribe. And if you've already thrown yourself at Sektori's campaign wall, toss a like, so the algorithm knows you're also into suffering beautifully. Here's what I want to hear in the comments. In 2025, is a game like Sektori allowed to be this brutally old school, no meta upgrades, no training wheels? Or shouldn't even pure arcade shooters give players more ways to brute force their way past their own skill ceiling?